Can I tell you something I've noticed? Many people are comfortable with a woman being faithful. Many people are comfortable with a woman being ambitious. But the moment she becomes both, people become uncomfortable. A woman who prays, thinks, builds, leads, earns, and creates seems to confuse people. And I understand why. We have been taught quietly and consistently that ambition and faith are opposites. That to be spiritual, you must become smaller or quieter. And that to be spiritual, you must be less visible and less influential. But I don't believe that. In fact, one of the quiet strategies of our time is that many people have mistaken humility for smallness and spend their lives shrinking gifts that they were always meant to grow or gifts that were always meant to manifest. For years, I've wrestled with this personality. I often ask myself, can I be ambitious and still be faithful? Or can I build something meaningful and still remain sincere? Can I pursue excellence without losing myself to ego? Because if we are honest, many of us live suspended between two competing messages or two conflicting messages. The world tells us to build, achieve, accumulate, and be seen. And then some religious spaces tells us to stay hidden, not to want too much, and not to dream too much or too big. As a result of this, many gifted people become trapped between the two worlds. They feel guilty for wanting to lead, guilty for wanting to create, or even guilty for simply wanting to leave a mark in the world. I know that guilt because I have sat with it before. But what if we have misunderstood ambition altogether? What if ambition is not the hunger for fame or the pursuit of status? What if ambition is simply the desire to fully develop what God has entrusted to you? Or your mind, like your mind, your voice, your capacity to serve, and your ability to contribute to the world. Because there's a profound difference between wanting to be important and wanting to be useful. One is driven by ego, while the other is driven by purpose. Yet, many people never stop long enough to ask which one is actually driven by them or which one is actually driving them. When I look at Islamic history, I don't see a tradition that celebrates smallness. I see a tradition that celebrates excellence. I see Khadijah, a businesswoman whose wealth and steadiness supported a prophetic mission at its most fragile moment. I see Aisha, a scholar so rigorous that companions of the prophet travel great distance to learn from her. I see Nana Asma'u, who educated women, composed poetry in multiple languages. She built intellectual networks and transformed communities from within. These women were not passive observers of history. They helped shape it. Their faith did not make them smaller. Their faith expanded their contributions. That is the model we need to recover. Somewhere along the way, many people began to believe that faith requires the abandonment of ambition. But faith is not supposed to remove ambition. Faith is supposed to refine it. The real danger has never been ambition itself. The real danger is attachment to ambition. When ambition says, I want to be meaningful or I want to do meaningful work, attachment says, my worth depends on whether I succeed. If ambition says, I want to use my gifts to change the world, attachment says, need the applause. Think about what that means. You were not created to be passive. You were not designed for smallness. You were the only creation in the universe. I mean, human beings. When I say you, I mean human beings are the only creatures in the universe that look at the weight of divine responsibility and accepted it. That is not an accident at all. That is your nature. That is the nature of we humans. Which means ambition is not something you have to reconcile with. Your ambition is your faith expressed because the bigger your vision, the more you are forced to surrender to God. The higher you reach, the more you must trust that the one who gave you the capacity also prepared the path for you. Small living does not require much faith. It is the audacious dream, the one that is clearly too large for you alone, that drives you to your knees. And that is precisely where God wants you. Not to shrink, not shrunken, not hidden, not apologizing for existing loudly, but building, trusting, and reaching, fulfilling the very thing you were agreed to carry before the mountains cooled. So stop shrinking yourself in the names of humility. The mountains already said no, you said yes. Now live like it. So maybe the question was never really whether ambition and faith can coexist. Maybe the better question is what happens when ambition is guided by faith? What kinds of business will we build? What kinds of leaders would we become? What future would we leave behind? Because when faith becomes the compass, ambition transforms. It becomes stewardship, responsibility, or service. Gratitude in action. The goal was never simply to become successful. The goal is to become useful, to leave people better than you found them, and to stand before God one day, not ashamed that you wanted too much, but knowing that you did not bury what you were given out of fear. You developed it, you refined it, you multiplied it, you placed it in service of something greater than yourself. Because perhaps the greatest act of gratitude is not merely thanking God for your gifts. Perhaps it is refusing to waste the gift that you were being blessed with. And maybe that is what faithful ambition really is. Not the pursuit of more, but the refusal to bury what God entrusted to you.